Welcome, everyone. I'm Nate Shear, your host, and this is Mind Force, a podcast that's all about diving into love, life, and learning. Here, your mind matters. Today, we'll be talking about happiness, accountability, and balance. Let's start with a quick introduction. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you? What do you do? And what brings you here today?
My name is Ernest Wood, and I coach men. I say now is like everybody has their own definition of happiness or legacy, and I help men to find theirs, be able to look in the mirror and go, "Hey, I like that freaking guy." I think in our world that a lot of people, we kind of lose ourselves. We get wrapped up in trying to chase everybody else's dreams of what we should be doing. And that's where I got into a spot where I didn't really like myself. I didn't like the guy I saw in the mirror. I went on a long journey. Took me a lot of work and a lot of, I'll say, falls on the face. I wrote a book. It's called Asshole to Awesome, A Journey to Joy and Happiness. And when I finally finished the book, I started chatting with other people, and I was finding that a lot of people had that same issue. They just couldn't figure out how to get fixed. Like, we all read the self-help books and it's almost like going on a diet, right? So many people go on a diet, yet in 2 months, they weigh 5 pounds more than they were before they started the diet. And I find that like self-help was almost the same thing. So that's what I do now.
Okay, perfect. And just to set the scene, where in the world are you calling from?
San Diego, California.
Nice. That's a good one right there. That's a new one. We've been all over the place, but San Diego, that's a new one. One question I got just right off the bat. How do you define success? I feel like that's such an interesting thing. People want to get wrapped up in money and cars and all the things. Read through some stuff on your website about how you were chasing money. How did you used to define success, and how do you currently define success?
That is a great question. And I think almost every man kind of goes through these different seasons, or pretty much everybody goes through different seasons. When we're young, everything was just about money. Like I just wanted as much money as I could so I could have the best car that I could possibly have, maybe take, some vacations, play golf anywhere. It was all like, to me, it was all just because that's kind of what I saw on movies or the internet or whatever, right? And I always had the want to, succeed, but then I got caught in the rat race, right? Because you find a job and it pays you the right amount of money, pays you just enough to keep you there while you do just enough to work to stay there kind of deal. And now, like after finally figuring out who I was and like my definition of legacy, success is it's finding that happiness. And I find it's like a freedom, because when you can actually enjoy what you're doing and you're giving back to people, and maybe you can affect somebody's life a little in a positive way, that's my idea of success now. And doing an act of kindness every day, that's one of my big things that I always try to do. I'm not 100% on it, but that is my definition of success now.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, we had a person on the show. She went over kindness. That was her whole thing. And she said the same thing. Like, I'm not perfect, when I'm out in the car and someone cuts me off, I get frustrated just like everyone else. But thinking about it and having that intentionality behind it to want to take care of others and open the door and things like that, I think just thinking about it is a step in the right direction, even if you don't get to it every day, just thinking about it. Well, let's move into the warm-up. First question I have for you. What does happiness mean to you, and how has your definition evolved over time? So I guess this is very similar to success, but do you have any differences on happiness?
No, it's pretty much the same. I mean, happiness, like I said before, I was always thought, oh, I'll be happy when I get more. I'll be happy when this happens, or happy when that happens. But until you're happy with who you are and what you are inside, you're never going to ever, in my opinion, you're never going to truly be happy. You're always going to be chasing something that's not internal to you. Like my little saying is, you got to learn to be happy with who you are without being satisfied where you're at. Because if you get the difference with that is like, if you get satisfied, you get stagnant, right? If we're not constantly growing, we're falling behind. And that's just the way of the world. So yeah, finding that happiness. And I just think it's just an internal thing where, you can look in the mirror and go, hey, I like that dude. He's doing what he can. He's not perfect. He knows he's not perfect, but he's a pretty freaking good dude. And like, he's doing the best he can.
Yeah, I think I got to see if you can expand a little bit, because the first thing I thought of is goals, right? You want to accomplish things, you want to set things down the road. So, how do you distinguish between goals and that feeling of I'll be happy when? You do want goals, right? But how do you balance that?
I think this is one of the biggest things I ever learned was being like, even on my book, it's titled Asshole to Awesome, right? Awesome is the faraway thing that I know I'm never going to be like 100% awesome. It's kind of like my perfection, right? But if I'm always making small steps to be a little more awesome every day, then that's that goal thing, right? I have a ton of goals. And that's why I say never be satisfied. It's like you got to be, again, happy where you're at. Like, you have to find that internal happiness, because when you're happy and like the process that you're trying, where you're headed, and you're enjoying that process, when bad crap comes up, which is going to come up, we all know that you're never going to go down a smooth freaking road, right? But when you can enjoy the process, and then when those little obstacles or even big obstacles come up, you just handle them. You move around them. You figure out a way to get over, around, even dig a tunnel to get underneath it. Before, when I wasn't liked myself, anytime an obstacle came up, I was a whiny little crybaby, man. I would whine and bitch and moan, at the job and anywhere. I figured in my childhood, we all I have our stories. My childhood wasn't the easiest. So I always figured, man, I went through, excuse my term, but I went through enough stuff, man. Like, I don't need any more obstacles. But now that, like, I found that internal thing, obstacles are fine, man. It's like obstacles are the way. I think there's even a book titled that, right?
There
And
is, by Ryan Holiday. Yeah,
he's awesome. I've
he
read a
is.
lot of his stuff. But yeah, so like now I almost look forward to some of the obstacles because I know I'm moving in the right direction.
Yeah, I think there's like a difference between the emotion of happiness and like contentment or joy, or maybe using a synonym for the same word. Because I think happiness is more of the emotion and people want to feel it all the time, but you're not going to feel it all the time. It's the same with motivation. You're not going to feel it all the time, but content, or, whatever word you'd like to put in there. And so I think a lot of times the emotion gets confused with the thing that should go on all the time. It's like, I should feel good all the time. We're not saying you're going to feel good all the time. Like you said, Newton's law, or not Newton, who's the guy that messes things up all the time? Jeez.
Murphy's Law.
Murphy's Law. There we go. Murphy is there to just mess stuff up. So we know stuff's going to get messed up. But if you're being content and joy, I feel like I prefer the term joy, because joy can't really be taken necessarily. Like, you're content, you're good with family, everything feels good, you're going to go through struggles, but you can still have joy. Happiness, I feel like, kind of comes and go. It feels like more like motivation to me, but that's a great reminder. Next question I had for you is on accountability, trying to move through some of these pillars you got. Can you think of a moment when accountability played a major role in your personal growth?
Man, accountability was a super hard one because I was kind of that guy who I love to blame everybody else for all my crap. If the job wasn't going well, that dude screwed up more than I screwed up. Even when I was, driving, I had horrible road rage, and it was always, well, it was that guy's fault or that girl's fault, like they can't drive. What I learned was just taking the only thing that you are in control of in your entire life is your thoughts and how you respond to stuff. And I took 100% accountability in it. And now, like, when I make a mistake, I right away, I freaking just apologize or whatever. If there's somebody to apologize to. And if I just I just, yeah, 100%. Like it's my reason. I'm the reason I'm there, right? Even in traffic jam, I try to say I'm the reason I'm there, right? It's, like it's not everybody else's fault there. And it's just, and when you can actually just take accountability for everything in your life, knowing that the only thing you can truly control is your thoughts and how you respond to something, it just makes it so much easier, man. And then you're not in that victim and that blame mentality.
Yeah, the victim mindset is rough. One of my favorite guys, Kerwin Ray, he actually passed away, I think late last year, but he said the sooner you take 100% of the responsibilities for everything that's happened in your life is your fault, the better things will get. Everything. I mean, you could try to go down the road of the family and whatnot, but all the choices you've made through however many years of your life, those are all your fault, regardless of the cards you were dealt. So it's a really good one. And the last one I have in the warm up is, what's one small habit that's changed the way you maintain balance in your life?
I want to say the small habit is I learned about breathing. Breathing to me is, it goes with sleep, but breathing is my fundamental thing during the day. I 100% make sure that I nose breathe as much as humanly possible. There's a saying that you should breathe through your mouth as often as you eat through your nose. Pretty much never, right? And if you look around our world today, man, they say like 60 to 70% of people mouth breathe in it. And when I learned to nose breathe exclusively, even during my workouts, and I try to work out pretty hard, I try to only nose breathe. There's a story about the Spartans when they trained their kids, physically. What they did was take a mouthful of water. They had to do their 10K run and come back with that same amount of water. They were not allowed to, obviously, if you're holding water in your mouth, you're not breathing through it. I have found that it is huge. I mean, it helps with mental clarity, and it really makes my days go a lot better, because anytime I start getting stressed out, I do my mindful breathing. It brings down my anxiety levels, and I actually cured my depression. Depression ran in my family forever. My uncle killed himself. My grandma basically slept on the couch and withered away until, my mom had issues with it. My brother had issues with it. I had days where I felt like this big, nasty black cloud was on my head. But since I've learned how to breathe, man, I haven't had one day of depression. No, I
Yeah.
still feel like crap some days, but not depression.
Yeah, that's different, right? Yeah, I lost my grandma to mental health. So that's why one of the reasons I kicked off the show. But I wanted to ask, what does that look like? Can you walk us through? Do you close your eyes? Or you sit in a certain way? Like, what does that do? If someone has never done any deep breathing or anything like that, can you walk us through kind of what those moments look like when someone sets
Sure.
in?
Like the easiest one that I do, I don't even know, probably at least I try to do it at least once an hour about once an hour. This is besides meditation and the Wim Hof breathing, but you sit up like super tall, kind of like your Superman pose, chin down just a little bit, a deep in through the nose. And it's going to be about a 6 to 7 second through the nose, and you're down into the belly, right? Hold for like 1 second and then out through the nose. And you do that, and it's going to be out through the nose slightly longer than you did in through the nose. So, like, say if you do a 6 second in, do a 7 second out, something, really close. You don't have to put your timer on or anything. But doing that, you're connected to your parasympathetic nervous system. And it's almost like flipping a switch, man. I mean, when you're getting worked up and you just do two of those little breaths, it's like, I had give you a story. My grandson was having almost an anxiety attack. I mean, he couldn't catch his breath, he's just and shaking his stuff. And I talked to him and I'm like, do the nose, let's go through the nose. And we worked, a couple times. We got him to like 5 to 6 seconds. And then all of a sudden, 2 breaths, he was done. He was breathing. He was cool, able to go. I'm telling you, man. And that's, they say the diaphragm is the least used muscle in the entire body, because we all forget to, use it while we're breathing. You see people breathing, and there's all kinds of bad stuff. Like people overbreathe nowadays. Overbreathing doesn't allow for that carbon dioxide buildup, which pushes the oxygen into the stream. That's one of the major bad things about mouth breathing also. But yeah, just that little reset, man. 6 to 7 seconds in, 7 to 8 out with a 1 second hold, only using the nose, using the diaphragm. It's beautiful.
Good stuff. Well, before we get into your three main pillars, I wanted to see if you had a question for me.
No, not yet, man. I think you throw some great stuff right in the middle there. You add on some awesome things.
Yeah, I got a curiosity. It was born into me, so I got to know a little bit more. So your first main pillar is happiness. How many people chase happiness but struggle to find it? What do you think are the key ingredients to lasting happiness, or joy, as I like to say?
And that's why I like to say that everybody has their own definition of it, because I agree with you. I'm going to just switch around real quick, but I use the same thing with nice and kindness, right? Because to me, I hate that word nice. It's like, if you look it up, it's something like ignorant person or whatever. Like that's the true definition or where it stemmed from. And if you watch how the world acts, right? If the nice people usually get taken advantage of, they have no boundaries and kind. But if you're kind, you know your boundaries and you're also helping. And that's where like I use happiness and you can use joy or content in that same way. So maybe I might have to move it around from happiness because, like you started making my brain think about it. But I have to bring that question back around because I just.
Oh, you're good. What do you think are the key ingredients to lasting happiness? You said, it works for a couple months, and then you're back on the diet, you're 5 pounds up. What makes it stick?
What I found that made it stick was actually internalizing it, right? So many people, and this was me, is you're always chasing the definition of like somebody else's definition of it, right? You, like a lot of us do, our neighbor got a new car. So, if I get a new car, I'm going to be happy too, right? And we're trying to always impress the person that the rats, man, like you see it all the time, keeping up with the Joneses, right? But once you learn happiness and like you're happy with who you are, it just lasts. Like it's not something that you have to chase. Like you're going to have your good days and bad days. But I think where it starts from is you actually have to know where you're at, right? Because I always say this analogy, it's like having, your GPS on your phone. If your current location isn't on, it's not going to take you to where you want to go. And that's where so many of us don't know where we're even starting from. And I think that's the hard spot with like self-improvement also, right? Because we just don't know where we're at. Like we have so many little triggers, little things that twist us up, little knots inside our backpack full of freaking rocks that we just keep adding to. And that's where that whole knowing who you are, knowing what makes you tick, knowing what causes your triggers and eliminating those and getting rid of some of those knots inside. And breathing is going to, learning meditation, it helps get rid of those knots, man. Letting that, most people can't sit in a room by themselves for 2 minutes without having some kind of outside stimulation going on.
Yeah, I got to grab that phone, right?
To me, man, I love, like, I could sit here in my little room and breathe for hours on it. And it opens everything up. And then all of a sudden, when I'm done doing it, man, I feel like a freaking genius because my brain's working right. I'm like, oh, crap, all this. Yeah. Hey. So, yeah.
Do you have any exercises or anything for someone that they're not sure what their like focal point is in life? Is there a way to like work through it with words or identifying what's important to you?
What I always have people do is you're going to do it and it's going to take about 3 days. So one day you're going to set your clock for 5 minutes and just brainstorm, like write happy in the middle or whatever your word is, right? Write it in the middle and just continually write for 5 minutes. Whatever pops in your mind. Even some of the crap might not even fit in there, right? But whatever fits, like whatever you think, just write. And at the end of it, kind of see what comes up and then kind of circle or put it into an order and then leave it alone. And then the next day you come back and you're going to do it again for 5 minutes. Same word, just brainstorm as much crap. Some of the stuff so that's going to be exactly the same, and some of it's going to be different. And then the third day, same thing, or the second day, you're still going to find the little common themes, right? Third day, you do the same thing, but now you look at all the things, and a lot of times you're going to have this commonality, and then you can grab those, right? And like, hey, maybe you find gardening, and like every time you think of happiness, gardening pops up, right? So now you start a little garden. You start something that's going to trigger that, whatever that internal thing is. Or maybe you figured out when you put happiness, maybe a bunch of triggers started popping up. Like every time, like I've had a couple people do that, is they did this exercise, but what they found was all the crap that didn't make them happy. So what we did was they found all this crap that didn't make them happy, and we just started like trying to eliminate them, right? Like, at the end of the day, they would sit on the couch and drink a beer. So what we do, we got rid of the beer for, the one beer, and we had them do a walk or do some push-ups instead. And then all of a sudden, like how his mindset shifted was he wasn't looking at the stuff that didn't make him happy. Now he started looking at the stuff that made him happy. Because so many people don't even ever take that time to think, hey, what actually makes me happy or makes me enjoy life, right? We're always thinking about, gosh, I got to do this, or I can't do this, or right? And then add gratitude to it is 3 things every single morning. Write something that you're grateful for. One about you, one about like your spouse or, a partner, whatever. And then one about the world. And that's proven. And I think it's 4 or 5 weeks. Just doing that every day increases your happiness 25%. That's like, there's a proven study on that.
Wow. You can just take that to the bank. That's guaranteed. 25%. We like that. That's good stuff.
Pretty guaranteed. You still got to work on your brain though, but
I love the actionable tips and tricks. I feel like a lot of self-help, it's like hypothetical and things like that. So I love the things you just do it and it'll work out. We actually did one at work. Our big boss, Brigadier General Flowers, he lives in DC. He did a values exercise and it was pretty difficult. It seemed like it was going to be very simple and very easy. And it's funny, the simple things even turned out to be kind of difficult because it had a page full of words and you circled 15 words. And you're like, okay, I really like these, family, friends, the things that jump out at you. You're like, okay. But then you had to go and make the 15 into 10. So then you're giving away 5 of those. And then you start to feel a little weird. And then you got to take the 10 down to 5. And so then you're reducing again and feeling like that feeling of, giving the ones away or, the rack and stack of that priority in your head was kind of difficult. So you're like, oh, cool. The 15 was easy. But when you get down to 5, like, what actually are they? Are you able to, give up some of these things? And that's where it was a little difficult to get down to 5. I did it a couple times just to see if it was kind of the same, but it lined up. I think 3 or 4 out of the 5 were all the same. So it's a good exercise. It seems good on both sides. I like the idea of thinking the things that you don't need anymore, because I feel like a lot of times those are just there by default. I feel like that person was probably grabbing the beer at night, not thinking anything of it. Do I really need it? Probably not. It's not helping one way or another. Just one, it's not really doing much of anything, but I could be doing something more productive, breathing, walking, doing something else. I think a lot of times we think we don't have enough time. We don't prioritize well. I know, like, I've needed to do things and I feel like I don't have time, but somehow everything seems to get done if I sit down and actually prioritize. So it's prioritizing, not the amount of time. I wanted to ask about difficult times. So I feel like it's pretty easy. You had mentioned the car or work's going well, you're making, decent money. How do you get people through and cultivate that happiness during the difficult times?
Difficult. Like I said, man, difficult times are those things that I used to hate them. It was just like, and I always blamed somebody else for my difficult times. And that, I think it comes back to taking accountability, man, and knowing that, that difficult time is probably there because something that you did in the past, right? Or a skill that you haven't learned yet. And then when you take accountability or responsibility for everything that's in your life, it's easier to, not get upset by them. And then also knowing that we're not freaking perfect, man. You're not perfect. I'm not perfect. None of us are ever perfect. There's going to be a bunch of crappy days. Even, you remember that guy, what was his name? Orton. He was a workout guy, like fabulous shape. Tony Orton.
Yeah, yeah.
Like he did an interview and he's like probably one of the most in shape people in the world. And they were like, okay, you're constantly exercising. So you must feel great every single day. And he was like, oh, hell no. He was like, dude, 75% of the time, I don't feel like doing this crap. Right. Even that guy, and he's like one of the most positive people that I ever saw. Right. And he still said he didn't feel like working out 75% of the time. The difference between succeeding and not succeeding is when you don't feel like doing it, you still push yourself to get the crap done. Like you said earlier, have your little priorities in check and check off those little, whatever the priority is of that day. And some days you're going to feel fantastic and those things are just going to check off with ease. Other days, every single one of them is going to be a grind. But it's all about like knowing your why, knowing where you're headed, what your big goal is, enjoying the process, knowing that if you just keep plugging away at the process, that you're going to get to where you want to go. And that's how I make it through those crappy days. Believe me, I've been having a few of them myself lately, and I've been like, holy crap, man. I just go back to writing in my journal, doing the process, doing the gratitude. You just gotta enjoy that process, man.
I think words are important too. Like I always try to draw on a piece of paper if I'm not feeling it. I try to write the word consistency over the word motivation because consistency wins every time. Motivation, it comes and goes, but consistency, I work out from 6 to 7 every morning. I don't like getting up at 5:30 and, getting some food in and doing all those things. But I know if I get to 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon after I'm done with work, I'm definitely not going to want to do it. So get it in early, not by choice, but just to have that consistency. And another person I had on the show, Joe Rodonis, he works for Tonal, the workout mirror.
I love it.
And one of the things I love that he talks about is non-negotiable. That's like one of my favorite things that he says, like, it just helps solidify, even though it's just words, it's like words matter and words mean something. So non-negotiable, like I don't even have to think. There's no thinking. That thing is going to happen. And so he talks about like his workout routine is non-negotiable. If he's on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, like it's going to happen Monday, Wednesday, Friday. If he feels like it, if he doesn't feel like it. But hearing like that mantra in the back of your head, non-negotiable, it's like, I want to start to go down this path and have my mind start to work. But once I hear it, non-negotiable, that's all it means. That's it. Like there's nothing to think about. I'm going. So, yeah.
I was going to say, I just worked out with Joe this morning.
Did you?
I don't know. He's awesome. But a good way of like, just to go along exactly what you're saying, non-negotiable, is I set up my days or my morning is like a big old algorithm, right? If I do this, then I do this. And the more things that you can set up like that, because discipline is almost like a little water bottle, right? You have this much during the day. And if you spend it all in the morning trying to just get out of bed, by the end of the day, you're gonna have a really low level of discipline. I think, did we lose you? Did I lose you?
Are you back? There it goes.
Sorry about that, man.
Well, you're good. You're good. Hopefully I didn't cut you off. Next question. Do you believe happiness is a choice or something that comes naturally?
No, happiness is definitely a choice, man. It does not come naturally. I mean, if you look around at our world, there's too many people choosing the wrong way on that one. I think happiness is definitely something that you have to work at a little bit. But once you find it, it's makes it a little easier. I don't know where I got cut off because I just wanted to add to the algorithm thing. Did you
Yeah,
hear?
absolutely.
Because the algorithm thing, and like it gives me my best chance of having the best day possible. Like my algorithm in the morning is if I wake up, I drink 8 ounces of water with my pinch of Celtic sea salt, and then I do my breathing. If I do my breathing, I do my workout, and everything's piled like that, right? And what I have found is that helps with my happiness too, because when I know what's coming and what's going, and I don't have any stress in the morning, man, this thing is acting up. Is it mine or yours, you think?
I don't know. It seems fine, and every time you seem to say algorithm, it gets mad. It must be AI or
It
something.
must be. It's like, oh
Did
hell
you
no,
make
we're
it?
not
Did you
using.
make it all the way through?
Huh?
Did you make it all the way through the algorithm, or did
I
it not
think,
record?
yeah, it got enough of it. You understand? I mean, we'll get the picture. But what I was trying to say is, if you have a good morning routine and a night routine, it gives you the best chance of having a good day, right? Because most people, a lot of people wake up in the morning, they don't know what they're going to do. So they start running around and all of a sudden they find themselves going to work 10 to 15 minutes, running behind. Then they get stuck in the traffic. But having that nice little morning routine of some breathing, some movement, some exercise, some stretching gets everything flowing. So I'll just leave it there with that since I keep breaking up.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good reminder. I think it's the simple things. We want it to be these large things. And I know I'd heard to like put out my workout clothes the night before. And for the longest time, I think I went years and I didn't do that. I just got moved to the UK. So I've been out here for about 7 months. And like I said, been on that 6 to 7 o'clock workout routine. And geez, putting out your clothes is so good. I should have done that such a long time ago. I got my shoes out. I put everything out. It literally takes me a probably one whole minute to put my stuff out. And it is so much easier to just pop out of bed and get to the clothes. They're all piled there. They're nice. They're ready to go. And like, I don't think about it because I want to say, oh, well, I'm cold, or I don't want to grab my shoes, or, well, I don't know if I'm going to have socks or the socks I like, or some crazy thing, because the mind is just so powerful. But when it's there, like that 1 minute just makes the whole morning so much better. So absolutely a great reminder. Your next pillar is accountability. So how do you think accountability contributes to personal and professional success?
Yeah, man, using that accountability, you're just because everything that comes in your life is what you're bringing into it. Again, I think that the only thing we have control of is our thoughts and our response. And once you're able to do that with life and work, now you're not going to be complaining about, Johnny over there at the water cooler, wasting time because you can't control what he's going to do. All you can control is your stuff, your thing. You can be the best employee, best version of yourself. And that's where that accountability comes in. It's just, you can't control anybody else's stuff, man. And
How do you do that? Like, how do people create a mindset where they're starting to embrace that responsibility rather than blame everywhere else? How does that shift? Like, it sounds great. How does that shift occur?
it took a lot of freaking work, man. But like, again, I started it with breathing. Like, I couldn't do it until like I finally learned how to control or slow down my brain, right? Because we live off our subconscious mind. I think, what's the numbers? 85% of the day is just controlled by our subconscious mind. We just do what we always have done. And that is the problem. Like, we just always do what we've always done. And if sometime in our life we became a whiner and we got rewarded for it somehow, either by a little dopamine hit from us or somebody outside of you. So yeah, that guy's a dumbass. So now you feel like you felt validated for saying it, right? So that's how that bad habit got created. And now to get the good habit, it's kind of like what you said before. You have to make it simple. Like by putting your clothes out, that's how you created the good habit, right? But getting rid of bad habits can be done the same way. It's like making them hard to get to. And that's with that accountability. You want to make it simple at the beginning, definitely make it super simple. Like every time there was a little thing, it's called like rocket ship. I wish I could think of the lady's name, but every single time that I came up with a thought that I wanted to do, like say workout, or if I wanted to go get water, but I was sitting there doing something else, it's like you can't 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you have to go do it. Right? You don't allow your brain to take over or the subconscious to take over and go, no, you don't need it right now. And so I was doing that with the good things. And then every time that I had a bad thing come up, like, hey, go get some candy, I had to switch that, right? I can't go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and go grab the candy. What I would do is switch it to making it harder to do. So it was, before I got the candy, I had to go do 50 push-ups or whatever it was. And by the time I did my push-ups, I didn't want the candy.
No, I don't know. It's just angry. I don't know. It's the weather. It's a full moon or something.
So man, I don't know.
It's all good stuff so far. It'll just make editing a little bit more fun.
Yeah,
But we like challenges. So, did you finish what you were saying?
sort of. And you might have had a little F word in there too, but yeah.
I'm just throwing you off here. The next question I had were we talked about practical things. I love the practical ideas and tips and tricks. So, what are some practical ways to hold yourself accountable? Have you found like different apps, or what are some ways to actually hold yourself accountable?
So I believe I'm a big believer in journaling. Every single day at the end of the night, I go through and I have like a little checklist. Those are my algorithm, right? When I wake up, I have to check off those things. And then also like reflection, you have to look back at the end of the day and go, hey, was I good at this part? Or, like you have to know where you screwed up and where you were good at, right? You celebrate the good ones and you kind of just give yourself a little, hey, I got to get better on the bad ones. I also use Heroic. It's an app that by Brian Johnson. It's pretty cool. It has all my little virtues on there and then what I like to accomplish in the 3 different things that he uses. I use it. And if you don't, just get a journal, get a book. It is super easy. And just always be able to, reflect and think about what you did better today than you did yesterday, because the whole goal is just getting 1% better every day. And that might sound cliche, but if you do that enough and your target is that 1% better every day, you're going to be a total different person at the end of a year. And you'd be amazed at what you can accomplish.
I feel like the most cliche things in life seems to be the most true and accurate, because I feel like sometimes I'm a walking cliche. But like I feel like it's true. One thing I love, I didn't see it until I was older, but Benjamin Franklin had his journal published like in the museum or whatever it was. And in the beginning, or the very bottom of his journal, it said, "What good will I do today?" And it had all the time slots for the day. And at the end, it said, "What good did I do today?" And so he would come back and reflect, like, did I do good? Did I help someone? Did I do the thing I said I was going to do in the morning? And that was the first time I've seen like that far back where someone was not only doing the initial things. I feel like the front is easy. Let's do these things this week. But then we never look back on Friday. Like, did I even do the things that I was supposed to? Like bullet journaling, you pass the things forward or things like that. But journaling, that's a super good reminder. Your last pillar is balance. So work, relationships, personal well-being often being pulled in all sorts of different directions. How do you define this balance? I kind of hate the word work-life balance. I don't think it's really a balance, but what are your thoughts on defining balance?
Can I go back to accountability real quick and I'll jump back? And
Absolutely.
A good thing about accountability is a lot of times we're in a position where we're at because we lack the discipline. Right. So this is where getting a coach comes in. I've had to get coaches a lot, and I always avoided coach. I hated my coaches. I was always the jerk at the end of the bench or on the court talking crap. But now I found that like coaches can hold you accountable until you get to a certain, like, best players and the best people in the world all have coaches to hold them accountable to getting to where they want to go. So I'm going to end that with the accountability, come back over to balance. I was all about, like, when I first started doing this, it was all about balance. I was trying to preach balance, right? Everybody gets locked up with balance because everybody automatically thinks it has to be like a perfect set of time, right? 8 hours, yeah. It has to be 8 hours of this, 8 hours of that, and 8 hours of that, or I'm not in balance. But it's like balance is, for me, you have your little things in life, right? You have to have your physical health, your mental health, your relationships, spiritual, and, your financial. And they all need some touching here and there. You have to pay attention to them. They don't have to be 8 hours, 8 hours, 8 hours, but they all deserve their own time slot, right? And I'll give you an example. Is, sometimes when you're starting a business, you're going to be working 12 to 13 hours out of that day, and your family is not going to get that time that they deserve. But if you communicate properly and you let them in on the whole process and the journey that you're on, and include them in it, now you give them the respect that they deserve by including them. And yeah, and then you tell them, hey, look, I might only have 20 minutes for you today, but it's going to be the best minutes of the day. I'm not going to have my phone on. It's going to be off. It's just going to be about you and me for 20 minutes. And if you think about it, that's probably better than a lot of freaking parents are doing with their children right now, because you see them at the restaurant and the little kid's just sitting there choking on his food while his parents are watching freaking TikTok video. It's crazy, man.
It is crazy. Earlier, you had mentioned kindness and what was the other one?
Nice.
Nice. So in balance, I think this question's probably got to be asked. So you had said someone that doesn't set boundaries. So how can setting boundaries play a role in achieving this well-balanced life?
That is I think that's the hardest thing for people. One of the guys I'm coaching now, he's an awesome businessman. He's a fantastic, but he still has this little thing about setting boundaries where some of these meetings will just run over, right? So now his whole time gets screwed up because he didn't set that boundary correctly. Another guy, uh, he'll set appointments, but if something pops up, even if it's not 100% important, he doesn't feel like he could tell somebody no. So the other stuff that actually was set up by appointment gets pushed off. And it's all about sometimes you just got to say freaking no, man. And I do the same crap. There's plenty of times that I know that I have to get something done, but the wife will come in and go, hey, somebody in the family needs this. And it's like, dude, if I tell her no, I'm going to be in trouble. But sometimes I just got to say freaking no, man. No, I got to do this. This is the most important thing that I have to do today. That is their life. I will help them when I get the opportunity. And it's a delicate fine line, but it's one of those ones that you have to learn. And that is definitely a learned skill of being able to say, no, you know what? I'm not going to go out to have lunch today. I have other stuff that's a bigger priority, like you said earlier.
Yeah, absolutely. So for practical strategies and things like that, what tips or tricks have you seen for this? Do you plan the week? Do you do calendar reviews, or how have you found ways to block time and, just kind of set some of those boundaries?
So my time blocking thing, what I found works very good for me. I time block 28 minutes. So I try to do everything by 28 minutes, because I know at 28 minutes, I can be 100% focused and do whatever I do. But I also know that I need some movement in my life, right? Because a lot of us will get behind the computer and we'll sit there for 8 hours straight. And they say, sitting is the new cigarette smoking. It's about that bad for your body. So I use 28-minute time things, and I set out my priorities, whether the number 1, 2, and 3 top things. And I aim to get those done. And then I have my kind of fluff, I call it fluff, that are the fillers throughout the day. Always getting those, well, not always, because none of us are perfect and there are a bunch of days that I miss. But at least start on it, right? It's like, what's that whole thing, how to eat an elephant?
One bite at a time.
One freaking bite at a time. So you have your gigantic goal. You break it down from, say it's a 5-year thing. You break it down to the year, you break it down to the month, you break it down to the day, and then you I break it down into 28-minute sessions. And I find that works super, super good for me, because I can even take my 28-minute nap and I feel way energized.
Do you do family planning as well? That sounded like it was all personal stuff. Do you incorporate the other family members or do anything like that?
Oh, definitely. And, so that's for the workday, right? 28-minute session. And then in the night, I almost do the same little thing. If it's 20, doesn't have to be 28 minutes with the kids or the wife, but I always try to set a part of the evening that's just going to be about them. Work, shut the work off at 5, 6 o'clock, depending on the day, right? Shut that off. And then we eat. I get rid of my phone. I go plug my phone in a different place. I put it on do not disturb. And that's how, I plan that stuff. Great question, because I left that part out.
Well, yeah, you're good. I just need to do better family planning, so I'm trying to write down all the tips I can.
I'll tell you
Well,
what,
Ernest,
figuring it like a cutoff time on the phone is huge, man. Put it in a different spot, put it someplace it makes it a little more difficult to get to. And you're going to all of a sudden go, that just putting on do not disturb, put it on airplane mode, whatever it is, find that time, half hour, 45 minutes. And it's better for your sleep anyway if you quit looking at it sometime before 5, 6, 7 o'clock.
definitely true. Well, Ernest, let's bring it all together. That was a lot of golden nuggets, a lot of goodness there. What's your final takeaway in the pillars of happiness, accountability, and balance?
I think they all go together. And our life, if we can figure out how to intertwine all those little things, right? Your happiness. To me, like being accountable made me a little more happy. Being a little more happy gave me more balance in my life. So it's all about just integrating those things into your life. And then with balance, I'm going to go with those 5 things. You got to learn how to sleep, breathe, eat properly, movement, and eat, sleep, my freaking brain, and hydration. Those you get those 5 things in there, and that's going to give you the best opportunity to have balance because you're going to feel better. You're going to feel more focused. You're going to have more energy. And when you feel better, then that's where the happiness comes in, right? Psychology or physiology drives psychology because when you feel like crap, you're usually not happy and all that stuff rolls down. So instead of rolling it down the hill, we can roll it up the hill and you keep feeling better. Take accountability because you're the only person that has control of what you're thinking and how you respond to stuff.
Absolutely. Well, Ernest, thank you for coming out. I'd love your feedback. Share your questions or feedback on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, or Buzzsprout. Engage with us, and we might hear your suggestion on an upcoming episode. If you want to come on the show, let me know that too. Share some goodness, help one another. I love you all. See ya.